He was standing in my living room, laughing, surrounded by his drunk friends, red Solo cups in hand, reeking of beer and entitlement, and on the floor. One of them had scrawled, "Bullet dodged" on the back of a pizza box. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't looking at my little brother anymore. I was looking at a stranger who had just celebrated ghosting a girl after getting her pregnant. Let me take you back. I'm 25. My brother? He's 22. He moved in with me after he left our parents' house. Why he left is complicated, but I opened my home to him without hesitation. I was his sister, his safe harbor. I helped him find work, drove him to interviews. I even cut him slack on rent when he didn't pay, because I figured, hey, he's trying. At least, I thought he was. But that night shattered every illusion I had about who he really was. When I walked in the door, the music was blasting. My apartment smelled like vodka and sweat. They'd turned my living room into a frat house. I asked him, "What the hell is this?" He just smirked. "We're throwing a party," he said. "Celebrating." Celebrating what? He pulled out his phone and showed me a text. It was from a girl he'd been casually seeing. She told him she was pregnant. She didn't want to keep it, but she asked if he could help cover the cost of the abortion. You know what he did? He blocked her, didn't even reply, blocked her number, erased her name, walked away from the situation like it was an annoying notification on his phone. And now, he and his brilliant friends were celebrating, laughing, drinking, congratulating him for dodging responsibility, for getting away clean. They claimed she must have lied about being on the pill, because apparently in their minds birth control is 100% effective, and any woman who gets pregnant must be trying to trap a guy. I stood there, frozen, furious, disgusted. I thought of that girl, alone, processing the terror of an unplanned pregnancy, reaching out for support, only to be met with silence. Blocked, ghosted, abandoned. And I thought of my brother, not just the little boy I used to sneak snacks to under the dinner table, not just the teenager I stood up for when our uncles were too hard on him. No, I thought of the man he had become, a man who thought blocking a woman after getting her pregnant was something to celebrate. I told him, "Pack your stuff, get out." He laughed again, thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. I repeated myself. "You and your friends, get out, now." They just stared at me, slack-jawed, like I'd broken some sacred code. And maybe I had. Maybe I'd finally stopped playing the part of the forgiving older sister, the fixer, the enabler. He refused to leave. So I grabbed his suitcase, packed as much of his crap as I could fit, dragged it to the door, threw it out onto the porch. I said, "If you don't leave, I'm calling the cops." That got his attention. There were tears, begging. He tried to guilt-trip me, said I was making him homeless, that I was heartless, that it wasn't his fault. But what about her? What about the girl? Was it her fault? He said it was an accident, that they weren't even serious, that she should have been more careful. I called bull, because sex isn't a game where only one player is responsible. Because if you're grown enough to sleep with someone, you're grown enough to deal with the consequences. And if you can't even answer a text when she tells you she's pregnant, you don't get to stay in my house. Period. That night, the messages started pouring in, from cousins, aunts, even some friends of the family. "You're cruel. You made your own brother homeless. You should have given him time. He's young. He made a mistake." But this wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. He didn't pay rent, didn't clean up after himself, invited people over without asking. Took and took and took, like I was some endless supply of shelter and grace. And this? This was the final straw. My parents, thank God, supported me, especially my dad. When I told him what happened, he was livid, more than me. Turns out, they'd been secretly sending my brother money, and he still wasn't paying me rent. When they found out, they cut him off too. They finally saw what I'd been seeing. That the boy we raised, the one we tried to protect, was becoming a man who didn't care who he hurt. As long as he didn't have to deal with discomfort. I haven't heard from my brother since, but I haven't stopped thinking about the girl. I'm trying to track her down. She was a coworker of his once. I've been reaching out to people, hoping to find a number, an email, something, anything. I don't know what I'll say when I do find her. Maybe just, I'm sorry, not on his behalf, but for how she was made to feel invisible, disposable, because no one deserves that, especially not from someone they once trusted. So now I sit here wondering, am I the asshole? For drawing a hard line, for saying, enough. For refusing to share my home with someone who refuses to take responsibility for the life he creates? Because if that makes me the villain in someone's story, so be it. I'd rather be the villain who stood up for what's right than the sister who stayed silent. So, am I the asshole? This story hits deep, not because of the drama, not even because of the betrayal, but because it asks us something bigger. What does it mean to protect someone? Is it always about shielding them from pain? Or is it sometimes about letting them fall hard so they learn what it feels like to hit rock bottom? We live in a world where personal accountability is often passed around like a hot potato. Nobody wants to hold it. Everybody's quick to say, not my fault. But actions have weight. And the weight of abandonment, of silence in someone's darkest hour, that's not a weight you can throw away at a party. That's a stain, one that lingers. To the girl in this story, wherever you are, if you ever hear this, you were never alone. You were never the problem. You were someone trying to make a hard decision in an impossible situation. And you deserved respect. To the listeners, ask yourself, what would you have done? Would you have kicked him out? Or let it slide, just to keep the peace? And if it had been your sister, your daughter, your best friend on the other side of that blocked message, would your answer change? Let us know in the comments. Because this isn't just a story about one brother and one sister. It's about all of us, who we protect, who we enable. And when we finally say, that's enough, this is AITA Stories. And sometimes doing the right thing means being called the wrong one.